There are moments in royal history when a single voice, a single remark, or a single unexpected confession suddenly cuts through the noise and shifts public perception in ways no official statement ever could. And this moment, involving Prince Andrew and a woman who once moved inside the intimate circles of the royal family, is one of those moments. It didn't come from a tabloid. It didn't come from a reporter. It came from someone who was there, someone who lived in the quiet rooms, attended the dinners, witnessed the dynamics, and saw the people behind the titles. When Susannah Constantine spoke publicly about the man once known as the Duke of York, her words carried a weight that even the fiercest online critics could never replicate. Her description of Andrew, sharp, unsparing, and brutally honest, has rippled through the public conversation and reopened old wounds at the worst possible time for the former prince. Because when an insider speaks, the world listens. And what she said was nothing short of explosive. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. What makes this moment so powerful is not simply that someone criticized Prince Andrew. Many have done that before. It is that the criticism came from someone who truly understands the world he comes from. Susannah Constantine wasn't a distant observer. She dated Princess Margaret's son, David Armstrong Jones, for 6 years. She spent time around the royal family not as a spectator, but as someone invited into their personal spaces. She saw the interactions, the attitudes, the small moments that never make headlines but define character. So when Susannah described Andrew as ignorant, entitled, and stupid, those words were not random. They were born from real proximity. They came from experience, not hearsay. Her phrasing was unusually direct. She said Andrew thinks the world owes him a favor, that he behaves as if he is above the law, and that entitlement is his defining trait. These statements are her opinions, but they hit like accusations because they reflect what many in the public have suspected for years. For a long time, Andrew's reputation has been shaped by scandal, controversy, and the fallout from associations that still haunt the monarchy today. To hear someone with royal connections echo what the public whispers in private creates a moment of validation, a moment when speculation feels like confirmation. What struck many listeners was the confidence with which she spoke. There was no hesitation, no softening, no diplomatic wording. She has nothing to gain from criticizing Andrew, and yet she did so openly, calling him a man who believes he stands above accountability. She even questioned how he ever obtained a helicopter license, given the difficulty of qualifying for such a role, an observation rooted not in malice, but in genuine astonishment, given her son's experience in the Royal Navy. Again, this was not an accusation, but her personal astonishment. In a single interview, she managed to capture the sentiments that have surrounded Andrew for years: arrogance, entitlement, and a seeming lack of self-awareness. And because these comments come at a time when Andrew is already under pressure, from public opinion, from the release of explosive new biographies, and from ongoing questions about his past, her words strike even harder. It feels like another crack in an already weakened facade, another voice joining a chorus of disapproval. Yet what makes this commentary even more compelling and even more complex is that Constantine also took a moment to acknowledge the psychological difficulty of Andrew's upbringing. She reflected on the unique struggle of the royal spare, a role often glamorized but deeply misunderstood. Growing up in immense wealth and privilege, yet without a clear purpose of your own, can create an emotional vacuum. She noted that such a life can leave a person feeling directionless, unable to choose their path, and overshadowed by the heir destined to rule. It was a brief but important insight, suggesting that Andrew's flaws did not appear out of thin air. They emerged from a system that was never built to support the emotional well-being of its secondary children. This nuance is crucial. It does not excuse his behavior or erase the criticisms, but it adds context. It frames Andrew not only as a man who made damaging choices, but also as someone shaped by a structure that offers immense privilege but little emotional grounding. The monarchy creates public figures, but does not always create fulfilled individuals. Constantine's reflection invites the audience to consider the internal contradictions of royal life: the wealth, the glamour, the duty, the lack of freedom, and the constant comparison to the heir. It is a life that looks enviable from the outside, but carries invisible burdens. Still, despite this moment of empathy, Constantine made clear that she has no warm feelings towards Andrew. She described him as someone she could never respect, someone whose sense of superiority appeared deeply embedded. Her commentary mirrored the public's growing disapproval, a widespread perception that Andrew has failed to take responsibility for his actions or acknowledge the gravity of the controversies around him. Even those who once defended him have grown silent, while critics have only become more vocal. This interview has reignited conversation about Andrew's larger fall from grace. Once considered one of the Queen's closest sons, he has seen his reputation plummet over the last decade. His public engagements were suspended, his honorary titles were returned, his associations, decisions, and statements have left him isolated in a way no modern royal has ever experienced before. Every new remark, every resurfaced detail, every insider comment adds another layer to a narrative that now feels irreversible. Constantine's words are not the cause of this downfall, they are simply another marker on the path. But her interview did something else too. It highlighted an emotional contrast that captivated listeners. Her deep praise for Andrew's daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. She described them as sensible, nice, charming women, warm words that stand in contrast to her assessment of their father. She even acknowledged that their positive qualities must reflect something good within Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, suggesting that despite their flaws, the York parents did something right in raising their daughters. This contrast between Andrew and his daughters is deeply symbolic. It paints a picture of two young women who have risen above their family's controversies, building reputations for kindness, professionalism, and grounded behavior. And because of this, Constantine's praise feels genuine and well-earned.
Her commentary touches on a deeper question. How much influence do royal parents truly have on their children, especially in a system defined by protocol, hierarchy, and public scrutiny? The fact that Beatrice and Eugenie are widely seen as grounded individuals suggests that despite everything, their upbringing held moments of sincerity and care. It hints that beyond the headlines and scandals, Andrew and Sarah had moments where they were simply parents trying to guide their children. Still, the interview remains overwhelmingly critical. Constantine's negative view of Andrew reflects the public's frustration. Many feel that Andrew has never shown the humility expected after serious controversies. Many believe he has attempted to cling to privilege rather than demonstrate accountability. Her remarks tap into this collective sentiment, giving voice to what millions have felt but rarely heard expressed so bluntly by someone who moved within royal circles. It is important to emphasize that everything Constantine said reflects her personal opinions and experiences. Her impressions of Andrew are based on her own interactions and are not universally shared by all who know him. Likewise, her insights into his upbringing and psychology are speculative rather than factual. But it is precisely this mix of personal insight and subjective judgment that makes her comments so captivating. They offer a glimpse behind the curtain, a peek into the private dynamics of royal life filtered through the perspective of someone who observed it firsthand. The timing of this interview also intensifies its impact. Andrew is already in a period of public scrutiny, with recent biographies, reports, and analyses painting deeply unflattering pictures of his past behavior. The public is familiar with allegations, controversies, and long-standing criticisms, So when Constantine spoke, her words didn't create a scandal. They added depth to one already unfolding. They joined a wider cultural reassessment of Andrew's character and role within the monarchy. Her interview also raises questions about accountability within royal structures. Why do some royals experience consequences while others avoid them? Why do certain behaviors go unchecked? How much influence does family hierarchy have on personal development? These are questions the public has asked for years, and Constantine's remarks breathe new life into them. The public reaction also reveals deeper truths about how people perceive the monarchy. The royal family is not just a set of individuals, it is an institution charged with symbolism. Every member carries a part of that symbolism. When one falls, the entire institution trembles, even briefly. Andrew's controversies have created a long shadow, one that the monarchy continues to navigate carefully. Constantine's condemnation is not just about Andrew as a person. It reminds viewers of the fragility of reputation within a system built on image. Another layer of complexity emerges when considering the legacy of the spare. Writers, historians, and commentators have long described the role of the second-born royal as emotionally treacherous. Expectations are unclear, purpose is externally assigned, and identity is often shaped by comparison rather than individuality. Some of Andrew's defenders suggest that these structural dynamics contributed to his alleged sense of entitlement, though this remains unverified interpretation. Constantine's comments invite viewers to consider how emotional neglect or lack of personal freedom might produce adults who struggle to adapt to a world beyond palace walls. Still, the public's patience has limits. No matter how difficult the upbringing, choices matter. Actions have consequences, and for many, Andrew's actions have broken the trust that once protected him. Constantine's interview resonated precisely because it aligned with this sentiment. Her praise for Beatrice and Eugenie, then, serves as a counterbalance, a softening of the narrative, a reminder that the story of the Yorks is not solely defined by scandal, it is a family with complexity, flaws, and unexpected strengths. The daughters, through their conduct, have become symbols of redemption, grace, and resilience. As the public grows weary of Andrew's controversies, they find comfort in the daughters' ability to rise above the chaos. In the end, this interview echoes something deeply human: the struggle between privilege and purpose, between expectation and self-awareness, between public image and private truth. Her words may be her own opinions, but they have stirred a conversation that touches on the core of the monarchy's challenges today. How do individuals raised in extraordinary privilege learn humility? How do they find meaning in roles they did not choose? How do they maintain accountability in environments built to shield them? This moment, defined by a single interview, has added yet another layer to the ongoing evolution of Andrew's public image. It marks another step in a long, difficult journey, one that continues to unfold, shaping the way the world sees the former prince and the family he comes from.